What's up guys, it's Will back again, and today's review is Captain Underpants, the first epic movie. I know I'm super late on this one, but I felt that since I did actually see it, that I probably should review it considering it's still being shown in theaters basically everywhere. Regardless though, Captain Underpants is a Dreamworks Animation comedy film that was directed by David Soren and is based on the children's novel series also titled Captain Underpants, written by Dav or Dav Pilkey. I'm honestly not sure how to pronounce his name. This first Captain Underpants film follows two best friends named George Beard and Harold Hutchins, played by Kevin Hart and Thomas Middleditch respectively. These two prankster friends attend an elementary school in Ohio that's run by an extremely grouchy and mean principal named Principal Kroll. Eventually, Principal Kroll reaches the boiling point after George and Harold continually orchestrate prank after prank, and he decides to put the two in separate classes. Before he can sign off on the order though, the two friends hypnotize Principal Kroll and turn him into Captain Underpants, a fictional superhero the boys created in a comic they wrote. However, an evil figure by the name of Professor Poopy Pants, played by Kroll, comes into the picture and the boys have to figure out how to stop him and his evil plan. And the rest of the film is spent watching the boys attempt to save the world and of course have fun with their new friend Captain Underpants. Okay, so I gotta start off by saying that I was a huge fan of the Captain Underpants books as a kid. I used to actually read these books and do my book reports on them in like 5th grade because they were so easy and so fun to read. Instead of reading some like long boring book that would challenge me intellectually, I was like, nah, I'll do my report on Captain Underpants. But when I saw the first trailer for this film, I was very concerned. I was concerned for one, because I thought the movie was gonna suck. The trailer did not impress me. And two, I thought the film was gonna be a complete flop because it felt like it was marketed very, very minimally. I also felt like maybe this film came out a little too late. Captain Underpants was huge in the 2000s, and even though there have been books released in the series relatively recently, I just haven't heard much about the franchise lately. Maybe that's because I'm not in 5th grade anymore, but who knows? Either way though, this film was definitely better than I thought it was going to be, and it's actually doing better at the box office than I thought it would as well, mostly because the budget is way lower at $38 million than most would have guessed. I will say though that Captain Underpants is not a great film for adult viewers. I think it's fun, I think it's mostly pretty enjoyable, but there is a tendency to get a little too silly in the second half of the movie. It could just be that the tone and style eventually wore on me a little bit, but I think kids will really love this movie because the vast majority of it is slapstick toilet humor. For adults, it can be sort of hit or miss. But hey, you gotta give credit to Dreamworks for being true to the books, because what I remember about the books is that they're silly, they're slapstick, and they're filled to the brim with toilet humor, and the movie ends up feeling the exact same way. And I did enjoy that style for the first half of it, but I think for adults, the second half will start to feel a little repetitive, and sort of like there's a change of pace that's needed that just doesn't quite happen. And I think part of that might just be that the silliness gets cranked way up, especially when Kroll's character Professor Poopy Pants is introduced, who often feels over voice acted, too over the top, and I felt the exact same way about Kroll's work as Douche and Sausage Party. There's something about these two characters that just feels disingenuous, and like the character never feels real within the scope of the story, because the voice acting is just too over the top. But I do gotta say that the voice acting from the other big three characters is really good. Kevin Hart is great, and Thomas Middleditch, who you may know from Silicon Valley, they're both really good in their roles, and I thought Ed Helms was also really great as Professor Crump / Captain Underpants. I think he was the highlight of the film with how he jumped in and out of each role so fluidly. And I also think Captain Underpants has a really unique look about it. Its animation is very blocky and sort of untraditional, but I actually enjoyed that because it reminded me of the books. Its animation looks hand-drawn in some ways. It never looks photorealistic or anything like that because it comes across as if this film really made a concentrated effort to retain what makes Captain Underpants Captain Underpants. Its animation reflects that cartoonish slapstick comic / cartoon vibe, and I think that change of pace was actually pretty unique and fun. But overall, Captain Underpants is generally a fun time. It's not by any means a film that most adults are gonna fall in love with, but it's still pretty solid nonetheless. I thought it had some awesome voice acting from its big three, a handful of very funny jokes, and some really unique and blocky animation. Sadly, I also felt that the second half of the film felt a little too over the top, the jokes become a little stale, and the villain was very underwhelming. I'm gonna give Captain Underpants, the first epic, a 7 out of 10, and generally recommend you catch this one in theaters if you read the books or you're just simply looking for a silly slapstick comedy experience. If you're a parent, I think your kids will really enjoy this one. So did you guys see Captain Underpants yet? What did you think of it? And if not, let me know why not. And also let me know whether you've read any of the books or not. Maybe you did a book report on one of them too, who knows? That's all for now though. This is WillFoxification signing off. See you in the next review.